The world divided. Rising powers and shifting loyalties. The balance of global power is no longer what it once was. Once unchallenged, the United States now finds itself at odds with a rapidly evolving multipolar world. The rise of China as a formidable economic, technological, and military force has reshaped global alliances. Across continents, a collection of nations, driven by economic interests, historical grievances, or ideological alignment, have begun siding with China in its growing rivalry with the United States. This isn't just about geopolitics, it's a global transformation. These countries, standing with Beijing, are not merely passive supporters but active participants in redefining the rules of global power. Here are 10 nations that are tilting toward China, reshaping the future of international relations. Number 10. Belarus. Belarus, a country often at odds with Western Europe and the United States, has increasingly turned eastward for support. Following mass protests and political unrest, the Belarusian regime found a reliable partner in China. Beijing has provided economic aid, political support, and technological investments, helping to insulate the regime from Western sanctions. In return, Belarus has publicly supported China on issues like Hong Kong, Taiwan, and global governance, becoming one of its most vocal supporters in Eastern Europe. Number 9. Syria. War-torn and diplomatically isolated, Syria has become another vocal supporter of China. As the United States pulled back from the region and imposed sanctions on the Assad regime, China extended diplomatic recognition and proposed reconstruction partnerships. Syria's support for China is symbolic of a broader pattern, nations isolated by the West finding common cause with Beijing. China has used Syria to push back against Western narratives of intervention and to champion its own model of non-interference in domestic affairs. Number 8. Cambodia. Cambodia has embraced China with open arms, allowing Beijing to pour billions into its infrastructure and economy. In return, the Cambodian government has consistently supported Chinese positions on controversial issues, from the South China Sea to human rights. Cambodia's deepening dependence on Chinese aid has made it one of Beijing's most loyal allies in Southeast Asia. Its position also gives China strategic access to the Gulf of Thailand and a regional ally against US-aligned nations like Vietnam and the Philippines. Number 7. Zimbabwe. In Africa, Zimbabwe has become one of China's most consistent supporters. After being ostracized by Western nations for human rights violations and political repression, Zimbabwe turned to China for aid, investment, and diplomatic cover. In return, China gained access to the country's rich mineral resources and a strategic political ally in southern Africa. The two countries share a narrative of resistance against Western imperialism, and their relationship continues to grow stronger amid criticism from Washington. Number 6. Serbia. Despite its location in Europe, Serbia has emerged as one of China's closest allies on the continent. Its historical resentment towards NATO and the US, especially after the 1999 bombing of Belgrade, has fueled a warming relationship with Beijing. China has invested heavily in Serbian infrastructure and industry, and the two countries have cooperated closely on technology and health initiatives. Serbia has increasingly voiced support for China's policies on global platforms, positioning itself as a loyal partner in Europe. Number 5. Venezuela. Venezuela's alignment with China is largely shaped by its economic desperation and ideological opposition to US intervention. As its economy crumbled under sanctions and internal mismanagement, China stepped in with financial support, investments, and political backing. In return, Venezuela has opened its doors to Chinese companies and has aligned itself with China on major global issues. This relationship illustrates how China uses economic leverage to build strategic partnerships with countries sidelined by the West. Number 4. Pakistan. China and Pakistan share a deep strategic relationship often described as an iron brotherhood. Anchored by economic initiatives like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, this alliance goes beyond infrastructure. Pakistan sees China as a counterweight to US support for India, while China views Pakistan as a critical partner in securing regional stability and extending its influence westward. military cooperation, intelligence sharing, and diplomatic alignment have all intensified, making Pakistan a committed ally of Beijing in its global contest with Washington. Number 3. North Korea. Isolated and volatile, North Korea has long leaned on China for political, economic, and diplomatic support. While the relationship has had its tensions, China remains Pyeongchang's lifeline, providing food, energy, and a buffer against Western pressure. In return, North Korea offers China a strategic pawn that diverts US attention and resources in the Asia-Pacific region. This calculated alliance helps Beijing maintain influence in a highly militarized region while challenging US dominance in Northeast Asia. Number 2. Iran. Iran's support for China comes from a shared opposition to US influence in the Middle East and a desperate need for economic lifelines amidst Western sanctions. In return, China sees Iran as a gateway to the energy-rich Persian Gulf and a critical partner in its Belt and Road Initiative. The long-term strategic cooperation agreement signed between the two nations has deepened their alliance, enabling military coordination, oil trade, and diplomatic solidarity. This partnership undermines US efforts to isolate Tehran and further strengthens China's foothold in the Middle East. Number 1. Russia. Russia and China have developed one of the most strategic partnerships in the modern world. Their relationship is rooted in shared resistance to US global dominance and a mutual interest in reshaping a Western-centric world order. While Russia brings military prowess and energy resources, China contributes with financial strength and global market influence. Joint military drills, energy projects, and political alignment in institutions like the United Nations showcase a deep and growing trust. Their cooperation is a powerful symbol of Eastern solidarity, especially in the face of US-led sanctions and containment policies. The new axis of influence. The global landscape is undergoing a monumental shift. As the United States grapples with internal challenges and global fatigue, China is quietly building an empire of alliances, investments, and ideological influence. These 10 countries represent more than just allies. They embody a shared vision of a world not dominated by one superpower but shaped by new, diverse poles of authority. While the US continues to lead in many areas, the tide is turning. Nations disillusioned with Western promises are finding new hope, and often new power, in Beijing's embrace. This alignment may not always be loud or confrontational, but it is persistent and strategic. The question now is not whether the world is changing, but how far and how fast China, with its growing coalition, will reshape the global order.